I'm in natural light, you can really see how much my roots are growing out, but I'm not gonna go get it touched up. I had my hair dyed like professionally before, but then all throughout college I did it myself. I'm trying to like be better about taking care of my hair and not doing it myself, but also I don't want to go and pay to get it touched up right now. Today we are here to break down all of my favorite romances from the last half of the year. So I did the first half of the year, I'll link that video down below. I did all of my favorite romances up through like June timeline-ish. So then I went back, I watched that video, and then I made the list for the last half of the year. Some of these you will see at the end of the year in my top 10 of 2021 like reads. But this list is pretty big because I wanted to be able to include all of the books that like are just gonna like narrowly miss out on being on my top 10, because top 10 is a lot to narrow down when there's literally like 100 and probably like 70 something books that I'm gonna read. When I'm only choosing 10 out of that, I leave out a lot of books that I really love and adored this year. 13 different book / series, because some of the series like I lump together. Like I do cheat that way. So on my top 10, like I will include like a series on there and count it as one, because I like to cheat and I can do whatever I want. It's my list. All of the books that I'm going to talk about today though are some of my absolute favorites. I would 100% recommend them, and they're pretty much all 5 stars, and some of them are 4. However, they just were like so standout favorites of mine that even though they didn't get like a 5-star rating from me, because 5 stars like I think it's like pretty perfect and it is like an absolute like god tier book for me, I do still think that they're incredible. So there are a couple of 4 stars on here, but just know that every single book on here I absolutely loved and adored this year, and I want to talk about them. So we have a big list, so I'm not going to talk anymore and let's just jump in. These are in no particular order. I just kind of compiled a list. So the first one that I have on here is going to be Groupie by C.M. Stunich. I loved this series so much. I've talked about it a few different times in like wrap-ups, recommendation videos, but this is a rockstar reverse harem romance. It follows our main character. I'm sorry, I forgot some of the names, and honestly, I'm recording a couple of videos today, so I didn't look up names. Like, I just kind of honestly forgot to do that for some of these, so I can't remember what her first name is. I'm thinking it's Lilith. But anyways, this girl's like really down on her luck. Like, she has no place to go, no place to live, no money, no belongings, like literally nothing, and she goes to this concert to sell these tickets to a show that her and her boyfriend were supposed to be going to. However, you know, she has no boyfriend anymore either. And when she's in the parking lot trying to sell, she ends up running into this one guy who is then like, congratulations, you won, drops her some backstage passes and leaves. And she's kind of like, well, I don't have anything else to do and nothing else going on. So she decides to take the passes, go backstage, meets the band. And let's just say she has a great night. 5 band members, and let's just say they all either love Lilith or they all hate her. But, you know, by the end, you know how reverse harems work. Anyways, she ends up going on tour with them. This book is like a little fanfic-ish, but it's like so devourable. It's so easy to read. The characters, this is what like kept it from going too like far into like ridiculousness for me, is that the characters are all like really, really sad, broken people, which I really appreciate in a character. I love a character who's like got a sad, tragic story, and pretty much every single band member, and Lilith herself, has that. And just she fit in so well with this group of guys. I loved the 5 guys as well. This is only the first book. There are 2 others, so it goes Groupie, Rhodey, Moxie, and they're all like around like 300-ish pages. So if you're looking for something really bingeable and like quicker books to get in to meet your reading goal by the end of 2021, highly recommend. Also, the group activities in here, top notch. It really does not waste much time getting into the spice. So if you really are just looking for something to really easily sink your teeth into, like, this is right here for you, and it is so good. Like, I truly just loved it. I did end up giving this whole series like 4 stars overall, because like, is it going to be one of like, do I think it's like comparable with some of my other like top favorite books? No, but the enjoyment factor is so high, and I just truly loved it. And I need to read more by C.M. Stunich, because I haven't since I read this, and I really need to, because I loved her writing of this. Sorry guys, my back is like killing me, and I always record on the floor because I don't have a good spot to like sit and record. I'm gonna try to like lean against the bed a bit and not have it look like I'm like leaning against the bed, but I am. Okay, next favorite on the list. I have a reading vlog reading this, so you can check like all of my live reactions in that, and it's my are these Colleen Hoover books worth the hype? And that's All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. As you guys know, I either like really, really love Colleen Hoover's books or I really, really don't click with them. But this is one of the ones that I just so absolutely clicked with. I love this book with my whole heart and soul. It follows Quinn and Graham, and they are married, and this is told in like past and present, so you're like watching them fall in love in the past, and then in the present chapters their marriage is in trouble. Like they are not doing well, and they've had to deal with some issues within their marriage that a lot of couples in like real life deal with. And it's just really showing how it's like eaten away at Quinn, and then how that's like in turn eaten away at their marriage. Phenomenal. I don't want to give too much else away because I don't really want to spoil anything, but I will just say maybe check triggers for this. There are some things in here that could be a little sensitive for some people, like some issues that Quinn deals with. I sobbed so many times reading this book. It's something that it's like I don't obviously relate to. I'm not a married person, and I'm definitely, the kitties are like a handful enough for me already. But like, yeah, reading this, I felt every single emotion alongside of Quinn, and I like related to her, even though it's like nothing relative to my life. If you like Marriage is in Trouble, if you like to cry, if you like emotional books, if you like second chance, y'all, they've made an appearance again. It is not your day to come here. The trash people. It is not their day to come here. It is not. It is not their assigned day. Okay, well, let me wrap this up quick before they get like the dumpsters out. I totally get why this is some people's absolute favorites, and I totally think that this is one of hers that really does live up to the hype. And again, like, it's shorter. I literally read this in one sitting. Like, I sat down on the couch one day and I didn't get back up until I finished it, except maybe to like get tissues because I was just crying so much, but it was so good. Oh my god, I feel like Lady Gaga. I don't consider myself a particularly ethical person, but I am fair. I can't do an accent. Oh my god. House of Gucci, anyone? Give my man his Oscar. That movie was so, so, so good. Okay, I think they're getting ready to leave, and we gained a friend in the meantime. All right, All Your Perfects. Next up, I don't even know how many times I've talked about this book and the series, and I'm so excited for the third book to come out in January. And that is the Twisted series by Anna Huang. Twisted Love. I don't own Twisted games yet. I will at some point. I needed to have Twisted Love in my possession, but I will buy Twisted games at some point. So these are companion novels. There's going to be a fourth one. They follow a group of 4 girlfriends. So this one is Ava and Alex's book. The second one is Reese and Bridget. The third one is Ava's brother, and I think is her name Jules. And the last one is Stella, and it's not like confirmed yet who like her love interest is. But I love companion books. I love companion books following a group of friends specifically. So I really love that this one's following 4 girlfriends and like their various dudes, because especially I think like a lot of companion series are like a group of men that are friends, and then it's like their various women. And I just like that this one, it's like at the core of it, it's like this group of strong girlfriends. First one, Twisted Love, is a brother's best friend romance. It follows Ava and Alex, very grumpy sunshine. Alex is a CEO, businessman. I think he's like Russian. His last name's Volkov. Dorian, quiet on the set, please. And he runs a business. He's like very cold, icy, has no emotions, very brooding, and he's best friends with Ava's older brother. Ava's a college student. She's a photography student, very sunshiny vibes, but she also has like some darkness in her past, but you learn about that. And when her brother is going to go away, he asks Alex if he can kind of keep an eye on Ava, just to, you know, kind of watch out for her, watch her back a little bit in the city here. And Alex reluctantly does so. And as they, you know, are kind of like forced to be around each other because Alex moves in next door, then, you know, they kind of have some things happen between them. I love them. I literally butchered that explanation, but I've talked about this book a ton of times before, so you can probably check out like any of my past recent videos, and I probably mentioned it. Alex is one of my favorite men of 2021. And then we have Twisted Games, which is Bridget and Reese, and this is a royalty bodyguard romance, which I don't seek out royalty books. It's not that I don't like them, I just think it's something that I say like it's kind of outlandish, when like I read fantasy and like taboo things and I'm like, that's outlandish. I don't know, royalty trope for me, it's not one that like really interests me a ton. However, after reading this one, I'm like, I need all the bodyguard romances because this was so hot. Bridget is in America. She's going to school with Ava, and she is second in line for the throne of her kingdom. Her older brother is going to become king soon, and her brother ends up abdicating the throne, and then guess who's next in line? Bridget, and she has to like return back to her home. And how Reese comes into the picture is that her bodyguard that she's had for like years and years and years, that is kind of like a father figure to her. She really loves him. His wife is having a baby, so he is taking a paternity leave and needs a new bodyguard, and Reese gets brought on, and immediately Reese and Bridget don't vibe. They have very different styles of doing things, very different ways of like communicating and living life. And Reese, oh bitch, he gave Alex a run for his money. Alex still wins my book because you really can't top the cold icy man for me. Like the cold rage. It like speaks to my soul. But Reese came in and he was like, I'm gonna at least try. I'm gonna try, McKay. I'm gonna try to win you over. And he definitely almost did. I loved the two of them together. This one is, I think, probably spicier than Twisted Love. I love the like protectiveness aspect of this book. I love Bridget and like learning to take over her kingdom. It's very like Princess Diaries 2-esque. But like make it dirty. Next we have 3 books to talk about here, and that is the Maid series by Danielle Laurie. So they consist of The Sweetest Oblivion, which is book 1, The Maddest Obsession, which is book 2, and The Darkest Temptation, which is book 3. So I've already talked about these in wrap-up videos, but I haven't talked about them like in any recommendation videos or anything. Oh my god. So I read The Sweetest Oblivion, loved it, gave that one 4.5 stars, but then I kind of fell out of a mafia mood, and I had to like wait until I was back in it. And even though I know you guys, so many of you guys were like telling me over and over and over again, pick them back up, you're gonna love the next 2, like this series is amazing. And it's like, I know I'm probably going to love them. Like looking at them on my shelves, I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to like love both of those books. Like I was already kind of predicting that I was gonna give them both 5 stars before I like even got into them. Like I knew I was going to love them. But I'm a mood reader, and if I'm not in the mood to read it, I'm literally not gonna read it. It did take me a hot second, but you know, I got caught up. And these are all mafia romances. So The Sweetest Oblivion, the first one. So this one follows Nico and Elena. So Elena is the second daughter of a mafia family. So if you know how like the mafia works, like their daughters are like married off to like make advantageous bonds for business. And Nico's family is like a rival of Elena's family, but they're trying to like broker some sort of like peace between the two families a little bit. And Nico is originally promised to Elena's older sister. But Nico and Elena, from their first meeting, they just have some sort of something that the older sister and Nico do not, and the older sister really does not want to marry him. She's in love with a commoner, and you know, some things happen, and you know what, I'm not even gonna say anymore. You just have to read this. I loved them. Nico is a simp and a killer. I've said it once, I'll say it again. That's all I want in a mafia man. I want someone that will burn the world down for her because he's simping so hard for her, but that he's also not afraid to get his hands dirty. And that is Nico. I love him. I live for him. I laugh for him. Like he's everything to me. So I didn't think that one could be topped couple-wise because I really loved Nico and Elena. And as much as I thought like the beginning of it was kind of slow, and that one I only rated 4.5 stars and I rated these 2 5, I loved the 2 characters so much. Then we got The Maddest Obsession. This one is Christian and Gianna, and we meet them in the first one, and Christian is an FBI agent, but he's like a dirty cop, because I don't really like cop romances, but he's like a dirty cop, and he's like in with the mafia, being an FBI agent, and I lived for that. I'm like, okay, if you're like a dirty cop, I'm kind of like loving this. I love the Russian men. I think ever since Off Balance with Kova, I'm just like obsessed with Russian men, and this just kind of like fed into that. And Gianna, we met her. She is also like a wife of many mafia people, I guess. So she was originally married off when she was very young to Nico's father, so that's how they like kind of had this connection. Something happens, she's married off to a new man, something happens, so you know, she just like is being passed around in marriages, and she's just a very like unhappy person, unhappy in her life, and drinks and does some like drugs just to like numb that kind of pain. And Christian sees better in her and wants more for her, and their connection is explosive. They don't like each other. It's like a dislike to love romance, I would say. And it does span over a period of time. Like the beginning is some like flashback times when you see them first originally meeting, and then in the present day where they both are now and how they got to that point. Oh, I love the shit out of this. And then we have The Darkest Temptation, my favorite in the series. This one follows Ronan and Mila. So Ronan is Christian's brother. So you do kind of get like the tiniest of sneak peek of him, but really not that much. And unlike Christian, who's living in the States, Ronan is still back in Russia and running the mafia there. And Mila is living in the States with her dad. She lives in Miami. However, her dad has just missed like another life event of hers, and she's like, where is my dad? She doesn't really know anything about his business, doesn't even really know a whole lot about him, and she's like, people are not telling me things are not adding up. So she slips her security detail one night and flies to Russia because she thinks like maybe he has a secret family over here. I need answers. She doesn't have a mother, so she's like, I really need to know what's going on with my family. So she flies over there without her father knowing and like slipping her security. And then when she gets there, things are just not what she expected. People are like scared of her. They're looking at her weird. They're saying weird things to her, and she's just... it's not what she thought she was flying into, and somehow Ronan and Mila's paths end up crossing. This is a kidnapper-captive romance. But here's the thing about this one, that it worked for me, because these either like work or they don't for me in dark romance. This one really worked for me because for the first part of their relationship, it wasn't like in the context of her being a captive. I mean, like it was, but Mila wasn't aware of that. So, and like we weren't necessarily, like you kind of know going into it, the like trope of it. But again, it wasn't so in your face of being like, I'm putting you in my basement. And Grumpy Sunshine at its finest, loved Mila, loved Ronan. Bitch. The men in these series, Daniel Laurie, you did not have to go that hard for me. And you know what? I appreciate it. Because you know what? I don't have a man in my real life, so all I have are these fictional men, and these fictional men really brought it. They brought it. What the fuck was that? I'm not even gonna bother getting up. Whatever they knock down, they can play with. So anyways, I loved these 3 books, amazing mafia books, and yeah, you will probably be seeing these again. Did you knock down something that you weren't supposed to? When I was watching my old video just to see where like my cutoff point was, Dorian needed to be held at one point. Look at how big he is now. Oh my god, I was like losing my mind watching that old video because he was the tiniest little baby. And now he's like a full-blown teenager. You're so cute. I love you. Okay, next is another dark romance, probably the darkest on my list, and that is Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. So this one follows Cora, who one night she's out at a bar celebrating her sister's birthday with her sister, her sister's fiance, and some other people. And her sister's fiance, Dean, she has never liked. They've always had this rivalry ever since high school. Really? Are you being a bully? So her and Dean have never liked each other, never gotten along ever since high school. They're rivals, and they're in like their 30s now. And one night they're out at a bar and everyone leaves, but Cora decides to stick around and keep drinking for a little bit longer because she's like, I don't want to go home. But she's not happy. Let's just say she's not happy with her life. And she decides to stay drinking, and everyone else leaves. But then she gets creeped out by this guy in the bar and she doesn't have a ride home. So she calls everyone and no one answers. So then she finally calls Dean, and Dean agrees to come and pick her up from the bar. And then when they are on their way home, they are run off the road and both taken hostage. So, and that's not spoiling anything, like you know that within like the first chapter or 2, like that happens right away at the beginning of the book, and it is them in captivity together. Very dark things happen in this. It is so like retching to read. You're just like in every single moment of this captivity with the 2 of them, and the things that they go through and have to see the other person go through, and also together. It's just so heartbreaking. But the connection that is forged in that captivity. Unreal. And here's the thing with them that I really bought is that I think that they were even soulmates before they even ended up in this basement, and they just were too stubborn to see it in real life, and that is really like unraveled. But oh my god, I don't want to say anything more because I literally don't want to spoil like the arc of the book. I will just say very dark, very hard to read at points, lots of triggers. But I loved the hell out of every single moment that I went on with these characters. And truly, I was just like rooting for them. I was just rooting for them, for their freedom, for them to be happy, for their healing, for every moment with them. I felt like in the trenches with these characters with them. And oh, it was so fucking good. Okay, another darker one is Dead Man Walking by Gianna Darling. This is the 6th book in the Fallen Men series. I don't think you have to read these in order. However, I definitely would recommend it because it just kind of makes sense in the timeline to do so. There are like some overlapping events, and also just the characters. I personally think like you want to like build up to these two characters, but you know, you do whatever you want. This one follows Bee and Priest, and bitch, Grumpy Sunshine again at its finest. Priest is a literal psychopath, like actually a psychopath, and Bee is this church-going, positive, happy, blonde, bubbly ray of sunshine kind of girl. However, she has a heart for darkness, and she sees Priest in like his full darkness, and his like she sees him like caked in blood, having just killed someone in front of her, and she gets like excited about it. Like, oh, it is so good. Like the two sides of Bee meld together so well, like the darkness and the light inside of her just meld together to make like the perfect character, and the perfect character for Priest. So there's a serial killer on the loose that is targeting the fallen MC. So Priest, as their enforcer, obviously takes this hard on himself that he can't stop these women from being murdered, and Bee is a target, and Bee is also being stalked by a stalker that they're like, is this the same person, you know? So he takes it upon himself to become her like personal bodyguard detail, because Bee is the sister of Lulu, who is married to the head of the MC, Zeus. Their book is book 2, so you get them in Welcome to the Dark Side and kind of get like the structural like aspect of the Fallen. There is like a lot of talk about religion in this, which I really enjoyed, and I think it was not that it was like similar in ways to Priest by Sarah Simone, but it did just kind of talk about like religion and religious trauma and how people can weaponize religion really easily and twist things to fit their own agenda that is not the original intention for religion. Because like Bee and Priest have very different experiences in the church. Bee finds comfort in the church, and Priest obviously does not, and we find out like why. I really enjoy like this look into that because I grew up in a non-denominational church. I don't attend anymore, and I like reading about how people process religion. I don't know, it's just very interesting to me, and I think it was done really well. Obviously Gianna Darling's writing is very poetic, and I love her characters, and this is my second favorite of the Fallen Men series, just falling behind Inked in Lies. But I think that this book was phenomenal. I do think it was a little too long. It was a little slow. I gave it 4.5 stars because it's like almost 600 pages, or it is 600 pages, and it felt long. But it was incredible, and I loved these characters. So this one I had mentioned in my last video, but I got this one from Kim. She sent me this one and Stay, the second book in the WAG series, and I don't see like an @ or anything on here, so I'm hoping that like, again, this thank you could maybe reach you in this video. I shouted you out in my TBR video that I just uploaded, but I just want to like, I want to make sure that like when you guys send me a book that I'm able to personally thank you. So I couldn't find you on Instagram, but hopefully you're on here and this reaches you. But Kim sent me, my list is to be uncovered, but one of my favorite books of 2021, obviously it's on here, and that is Waking Olivia by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This is a coach-athlete romance, which after I read Off Balance last year, I was like, I need to read more coach-athlete books, and then I never did, and then I reread that series again earlier this year, and I was like, okay, I really need to actually go about finding one, and someone recommended Waking Olivia to me. Oh, I'm so happy I read this. So this one obviously follows Olivia, who is a track runner in college, and she was at like a Division I school, like a really high up school. She had some issues there. She has some behavioral issues, and there was an incident and she was asked to leave, and no one kind of wants her anymore. Hi, Dorian. And she ends up at this school, like a Division III school, like a really lower school than what her skill level is. But she ends up there, ends up getting a full scholarship because she literally can't afford to attend college if she doesn't have a scholarship. You learn more about like her family situation in here and like why she is just like literally on her own. Will, the track coach, does not want her. He wants like nothing to do with her. He doesn't want to put up with the drama that she's gonna bring. He doesn't have the patience or the time to deal with any of Olivia's shenanigans. And you know, she can't help but working her way into his heart, but very slowly and steadily. There's so much that I want to say about this book, but also I just don't want to get into too spoilery things. But there's just so much depth to Olivia's character and why she is the way that she is. And she has this thing that like happens to her that then Will tries to like help her with. Oh, I need to like I don't want to get into too spoilery, but I loved this book. It's definitely more of a slow burn, definitely not as spicy as some of the books that I do recommend on here. However, there's still smut in it, it's just not as much. And I just really think that the relationship that the two of them build and like the friendship and the respect that they kind of try to like build their foundation on is so strong that then as the relationship progresses, like I really, really rooted for them. And I rooted for Olivia just to like heal in general. And oh, I loved this book so much. And if you haven't read it yet, you need to hop on it. The next book I do have a physical copy of because one of you guys, Sonia, was so kind to send it to me, but one of my friends is actually reading it right now, so she has it in her possession, so I don't have it right now, but that is Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue. Y'all know I loved the shit out of this book. Oh my god, why am I completely blanking on her name? It's Leon, and what is her name? Oh, and if I had it right here, I could look at it. Anyways, but I film on my phone, so I don't want to like Google it on there. But anyways, it's about this girl who returns to her hometown to go to college there. And her parents are like hesitant about her going there because this town is just, it's got some secrets in it. And there's like cults. There's just a murder on campus that the police are trying to solve. And it's just like, it's kind of creepy. It's kind of spooky. The atmosphere... Arya, quiet on the set, please. The atmosphere is very like gray, gloomy, creepy, dark vibes. I was living for it. She arrives on campus there. Just, you know, some things start happening. Some things start taking place that she's kind of like, what the hell? She is a ghost hunter and she has a YouTube channel. And so she tries to like catch a ghost on camera for her YouTube channel, and she accidentally ends up summoning Leon, a literal demon. It's their romance. I have never read anything like this before, and I think that's why like I loved it. I just needed something fresh. You know, I have to like switch up my romances quite a bit between like subgenres, tropes, because otherwise I do find myself feeling like a little stuck in them. And I think this was just so totally different than anything else that I've ever read before. And it just worked. It was dark, it was kinky, it was spooky, it was mysterious, it was plot driven, it was romance driven. Like everything about it just worked for me. And I do have the second book. I haven't gotten around to it yet. It's Her Soul for Revenge, and I'm so excited to read it. But truly, this one was just a fun time. Y'all knew this book was gonna be on here. The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I was not going to read this book because one, I don't really trust TikTok. And it was so hyped on there. And two, I don't read traditionally published romance really at all. Like there are very few exceptions that I have ever read. And even those were like more at the beginning of my reading journey. Now I am like an indie hoe. The thing that turned my opinion on this was then I heard that this was Raylo fanfiction. Yeah, Arya, I know. Can you believe it? I can't either. If you know anything about me, you do, Arya, you know. I don't know if you can tell with the lighting. That's literally a picture of Kylo Ren up there. That's another Star Wars picture of Darth Vader. That's another Kylo Ren picture. I'm obsessed with Star Wars. I love Star Wars with my whole heart and soul. Especially, I love the sequel trilogy. I know it's kind of controversial. You know, I don't want to hear it. They're for my personal enjoyment, and if I enjoyed it, I'm going to talk about it, and I love this sequel trilogy, and I especially love Kylo Ren, not even just because Adam Driver played him, because I have loved Adam Driver since Girls. I have been on a journey with that man. I've been on a journey with my standing of that man, because so many people have always been like, literally, what is wrong with you? Why do you love this man? And finally people are starting to come around him, and I'm like, thank you. I've been on a journey with him. So when I heard that this man right here, his name is even Adam in the book, and I'm like, so you're telling me that I can literally picture Adam Driver as a character in here? I mean, I really don't need much more. This book follows Olive, who is like third year PhD student or something. She's like in science, she's in STEM. So the whole like academia setting of this was really cool. I've never read like a scientist type romance like this before. Olive, to convince her friend that she's not into this other guy that like she went out on one date with, she's like, she wants them to go off and be happy together, but her friend is like, I don't want to cross that line, like girl code, whatever. And Olive's like, no, really, whatever. And she makes up this lie that she's actually on this date with this one guy, and then she ends up running into her friend. So she grabs the first guy that she sees and kisses him, which is Dr. Adam Carlson, and they end up fake dating. They're both getting something out of this arrangement. You like learn as we go. And it's fake dating, but it's also like student teacher a little bit, even though he's not like her professor in how like the school structure plays out. Like she doesn't have any of his classes, but still he is like a professor and she's a student. Oh my god, I loved everything about this book. Not even just the fact that I could picture Adam Driver as Adam, but I loved Olive's character. I loved their connection. I'm a sucker for fake dating. Y'all know I love student teacher. Olive is very smart, very quirky. Like she gets into a lot of like uncomfortable situations, which I just found endearing, and I really liked her and Adam's connection. It's very like Grumpy Sunshine. You've probably heard about this book 1,000 times now because everyone has been reading it and everyone has been loving it, but I just also had to jump on the Love Hypothesis hype train. Next is another student teacher book, and that is Crash Course by Alyssa Wilde. I gave this one 5 stars as well. So this one is a student teacher book, and it is a high school book. It does take place in high school. However, I will say the main character's age, now why can't I remember her name either? I suck, guys. I'm so sorry. I normally try to like really have names down for you guys. But our main character, she is 19, or she's like 18 or 19, but because she missed a year in high school and now she's going back to complete her senior year, so she is like of legal age. So I know like sometimes the high school like student teacher thing doesn't work with people. I get it. If you don't like it, don't read it. There is an incident that happens one night where she is in a very bad car accident where then she has to take the year off to recover, and she is going back now in present day for her senior year. And upon her first day back at school, she sees someone in the hallway that she sees in her dreams/nightmares every single night from the night of her car accident. And it turns out that he is her new creative writing teacher. And so right off the bat, you get the car accident, you get this flashback chapter and like how these two met in their circumstances of how they connected, but then how they went like no contact for a whole year, and then now they're back and like forced to be together and see each other. And what I really love about this book is how much the hero helps the heroine work through her trauma through like writing and like getting it all out there. And she's very artistic, so she also draws a lot, and how she just has to like get out all the trauma that she's been facing ever since her car accident. And also like her mother left, so she's literally on her own. She's like living in this house by herself, having to do everything on her own. And it gave me very much Sweet Dandelion vibes by Macaulay Smelter. So if you've read that book and you loved it, I would highly recommend you check this one out, because like kind of similar, like it gave me similar vibes, especially between our two main characters. It was a slow burn, which I definitely prefer. Again, highly recommend, obviously. Okay, next is another dark one, but it's not dark in like circumstances like still beating. It's dark as in The characters are fucked up, and that is Lords of Pain by Samantha Rue and Angel Lawson. So this one is a 3-book series. I'm just gonna kind of highlight the first book, obviously, kind of like how I did with Groupie, because it follows like the same characters throughout the series, but it goes Lords of Pain, Lords of Wrath, Lords of Mercy. I'm reading Lords of Mercy right now. I haven't finished it yet, but Lords of Pain, it is a dark bully college reverse harem romance. So it follows Story and her stepbrother. His last name is Payne. Why can't I think of his first name? It's not Liam Payne. What? I can't think of his name. And then his 2 friends, Tristan and Wrath. I don't know. I'm literally blanking on his name. But anyways, there's an incident that happens back when they are younger. They're step siblings, and Story and the 3 guys, there's an interaction, doesn't sit well. He literally hates her. She runs away, and then in college, this is like back in high school, she goes off to this boarding school, and then in college, she ends up back at their fraternity when they're choosing who is going to be their lady. Why do I sound like I've never read this book? The 3 guys run this frat, and they get to choose one girl. They have like auditions, and they get to choose one girl that is going to be their girl for the year, and that girl will live with them. They'll tell her what to do, what to eat, where to go, what to do, literally just kind of be like in service to them. And Story shows up at those auditions, fully aware of who these frat guys are, fully aware of who these 3 are and like their history, but she shows up and she has ulterior motives for showing up, and it's kind of them unraveling like both sides of their shared history, the story. It's so toxic. It's so horrible, like the actions that happen in here, but I ate up every single page of it. I loved it. I love the toxicity. Y'all know this. Y'all know. If it's like too smart, mature characters, I get bored, but these immature, very toxic. I loved this. I don't know why I sound like I've never read it before. But I have a reading vlog of reading this first one, and then I already talked about the second book in one of my monthly wrap-ups. But I love a reverse harem book. I've really like discovered reverse harems this year and have really gotten into some of them. This was so fun. I love it. I definitely do not think it is for everyone. This is one that like as a whole, I would recommend like all these books to everyone, but this is one where I'm like, you kind of have to know your limits going into it. And even the foreword of these are like, these are not good guys. One thing that I really love about this book too is that Story never once makes excuses for any of their actions. She's never like, oh, well, like maybe I did do something wrong. She's like, no, they were in the wrong. They treated me horribly, but I'm gonna stay because I want to. Because like I don't want to leave. And I'm like, you know what? I appreciate you're honest with the fact that these dudes are horrible. Like they never once try to make excuses for the actions. The authors and Story don't. So I love it, but I will just say you need to know your limits going in. But for me, it's fiction. And I live, eat, and breathe the toxicity. Next is another series, and that is the Skyscraper Cinderella series by Kay Webster. This consists of 3 books. I have the bind-up of them all, so all the 3 books fit in this one book. And they are Stroke of Midnight, Prince Charming, and The Glass Slipper. The part of the Midnight Dynasty world, so like a bunch of authors have written books in this world. This one follows Ash and Winston Constantine. So the Constantine family is like this big family in this world. Very rich, very bougie, high up in like business, banking. You know how it goes. They're super loaded and super rich and super hot. So Winston is the oldest son, so he's kind of like taking over the business, and he runs the bank. And Ash is an 18-year-old who her father spent her college money, and she is now a janitor at the like company that cleans for the Constantine like bank building or whatever. One morning Winston shows up in his office. He notices something off in there, and he's like, find me the cleaning person who's in here. I want to fire them directly. And then Ash shows up in his office, and he is immediately taken off the rails by her pretty much. And he decides, you know what? I have billions of dollars. You have no money and now no job because I'm going to fire you. So let me like make you a little proposition that let me humiliate you and I'll pay you money for it. And Ash doesn't hate the idea of that. Or she says she hates it, but then internally she's like, I love it. So you know how it goes. They have like a little arrangement then between the two of them. This is like Cinderella retelling-ish kind of, but like make it really dirty and smutty and kinky. I live for this. They're all really short books. So again, too, if you're looking for like short books to hit your reading goal, these are all like around like 230, 250 pages. Like they are very quick reads and they're very bingeable. They all leave off on a little cliffhanger, so it's very easy to jump back in to the next one and just keep going. Very, very hot, very spicy, very fun. Do I necessarily think Winston and Ash are soulmates? No, but I did really love them together and their dynamic. And I just really love this whole world that's built with all of these characters in it. So, and there's also like rivaling business families. Like there's enough plot in here that it's not just smut, but what is in here, like smut-wise, is really hot. The last book on here is Puck Me Secretly by Odette Stone. This one is the first book, and I think it's like the Vancouver Wolves series. I haven't read any more of these. I read this one on vacation, and it was just like the perfect vacation read. It's a sports romance. It's a little lighter, a little more fun. And this one, God, I can't remember their names either. I'm sucking. But on a plane ride home from, I don't even remember where they're flying from, honestly. This one woman boards a plane because she is headed back home after college, after going to school and after living in the city, doing like art stuff. She is now headed back, I'm assuming to Canada, if it's the Vancouver Wolves, maybe to Canada. She's heading there to take over or to work on this hockey team that her father is like the owner of. But that's not what she wants. She doesn't care about hockey. She doesn't follow it, whatever. But you know, she's got to go back. So she's going back, and on the plane, she sits next to this one dude who she's like, oh my God. They kind of like hit it off. They kind of start talking because the plane starts to go down. Like they think it's going to crash. So she immediately starts like spilling these secrets to him. And it's just like this very steadfast presence for her. And has she never hooked up with anyone, or has no one ever like gotten her off before? I can't remember, but it's one of those two. So, you know, he takes it upon himself to fulfill her need. But then he just ups and leaves, and she's like, okay, bye. I guess this was just like a one night kind of thing. But you know, whatever. She shows up to be this corporate hockey boss lady. And then what do you know who the newest player of the team is? The dude that was sitting next to her on the plane, and he is the bad boy of hockey right now. There was just a fight that was like on screen, which is why he was let go. It was like a televised fight that he got into with a teammate and like really severely beat his teammate up. But I mean, y'all know he probably had his reasons, and he did. But the public doesn't know that, and she's kind of like then tasked with making sure that he stays in line. It was just great. It was so fun. I love sports romances. I love workplace romances too, and the fact that this like combined both of those I thought was just great. Overall, this book was so fun, and I just haven't gotten around to getting to the rest of the series yet. But if you haven't like even checked this out, because if you like hockey romances like I do, this was definitely such a great one. That's all of my favorite romances from the last half of the year. Obviously, I did have some other books that like I still rated like same as these books, but they didn't feel right. They didn't like resonate with me to put on this list. So, favorite romances of the last half of the year. I will have my top 10 of 2021 video up in a couple weeks here, I think. I'm probably going to put that one up a little earlier than some of my other ones that I've planned, because like I'm pretty sure I already have that list locked down. I don't foresee myself reading anything that's going to knock any of those off that list. I'm also going to have like a disappointing books / worst books of 2021 list, because I like to focus on the positive in books on this channel, but you know, I do want to get a little roasty. So I have some fun videos coming up in December. I hope that you found some good new books to read to wrap out the end of the year. And yeah, that's it. So I will see you when I see you.